Participants joining.
Well, do you need to move the computer to start the video?
No, just have to lean in and press play.
Hey, hi everyone. We'll just give people a couple of minutes to join, and then we'll get started. Okay, and just while we're waiting, I just want to go over a couple of house rules. So this is a webinar format, which means everybody in the audience is going to be automatically muted. So we're not going to be able to see or hear you, although you can hopefully see and hear us. So please just feel free to relax and grab yourself a cup of tea or a glass of wine and enjoy the next hour or so. If you would like to look at the closed captions, you can click the Show CC button at the bottom of your screen, and that will provide a transcription of what you're listening to. If you would like to make any comments or questions, please do use the Q&A facility throughout the presentation, and I'll ask the questions at the end. Likewise, if you'd like to make any comments, everybody can see the comments, but only I can see the questions. So please feel free to drop a couple of comments if you're enjoying it, or if you've got any questions, use the Q&A box. As always, please be respectful and mindful if you're using the chat function, as everybody can see it. While we're waiting, I'd just also like to say we do have another session on the 12th of November, which is going to be preserving our seaside Art Deco heritage. So that'll be a really interesting panel discussion. I would encourage you to go online and book a ticket for that if you've not already done so. So this evening's talk, I would like to introduce our speaker, who is Danny Keane. Danny is an artist whose paintings are hung in museums and galleries across the country and also in the House of Commons. He's based in Norfolk and is a member of the Norfolk and Norwich Black History Society and a former chair of the Norfolk Black History Month. Tonight, he'll be taking a personal look at Art Deco, modernism and the Black aesthetic. So Danny, welcome.
Hello, thank you. Well, hello, everybody. Thank you.
Danny will be showing a pre-recorded talk, and then will join us live at the end for questions. So Danny, without further ado, I'm going to hand over to you. Enjoy the lecture, everybody.
Well, hello, everybody. Yes, I found this whole experience creating this event very enjoyable because it allowed me to delve quite deeply into a lot of stuff that I'm already very interested in, and I hope this all be translated to you in the coming video. So, without any further ado, we can show the video now. Art Deco, Modernism, and the Black Aesthetic. My name is Danny Keane. I am a Jamaican and came to this country in 1952. In the 1960s, I studied fine art in London.
Oh, sorry, Danny, we've lost the sound on that, I think, because you're on mute.
Brought verve and dash to a very grey London
Would
backdrop.
you mind starting the video again? Just, I think we
A
lost that.
Jamaican
Thank you. Sorry,
Art
everyone.
Deco,
Slight hit.
Modernism, and the Black Aesthetic. My name is Danny Keane. I am a Jamaican and came to this country in 1952. In the 1960s, I studied fine art in London. London was a grim place in those early years after the war. We lived amongst the fallout of huge power stations. This was before the passing of the Clean Air Acts. The buildings all around us were blackened and mostly Victorian, except for some that stood out due to the modernistic designs and streamlining. These buildings were often cinemas, which gave them added glamour. Art Deco brought verve and dash to a very grey London backdrop. Being a Jamaican studying fine art in the 1960s was almost unique. I rarely encountered another person of colour in the 4 London art schools that I attended. We art students used to scour jumble sales, market stalls, and second-hand shops for Art Deco items, which we bought for pennies. My favourites were long silk scarves with jazzy designs. Those who were really in the know and had a few more shillings than the rest of us hopped over to the flea markets in Paris and bought Lalique vases and such. I could not help noticing that many Art Deco pieces featured images of black people, often jockeys, cocktail waiters, and jazz musicians. Out of Africa. The French Empire style of the late 18th century had influences from Africa, Egypt, the Pharaohs, and Orientalism. Napoleon's fascination with the Pharaohs led him to invade Egypt. A major element of Art Deco was now instilled into French design. African art, indigenous art, and jazz are the dynamic forces that modernise arts and crafts in the 20th century. When Howard Carter opened Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922, the Art Deco period had begun. Eras of modernism. The times, eras, and generations of the 20th century are defined and named by Black aesthetic terms and language. Thus, the late 19th century up to World War I is called ragtime, after the popular African American piano music called rags. After World War I came the Jazz Age, which spanned the Roaring Twenties. The swing era, or the big band era, comes in the 1930s. It lasts until just after World War II. In the 1940s and 50s comes the Beat generation, otherwise known as the rock and roll era. This era lasts until the mid-1960s. The ultimate product of the Beat generation are the Beatles. In the late 1960s come the hippies. Since then, modernism is characterized by various versions of the word hip, as in hip-hop, hipster, and hipsterism. The word hip can be found in Cab Calloway's 1930s The Hipster's Dictionary. Modernism and Art Deco. The term Art Deco came into use during the 1960s. Prior to that time, it was known as l'art moderne, style moderne, art moderne, or jazz moderne. After World War I, France passionately embraced the new music called jazz. In France, Black American artists found a country where their genius was fully recognized. The Black aesthetic is the cornerstone of 20th century modernism. For example, the Art Deco design concept of streamlining jibes perfectly with the dynamism and the fast rhythms of jazz. The speed and energy of the Charleston dance fit perfectly with the zeitgeist. When the Charleston morphs into the Lindy Hop, streamlined dancers literally fly through the air.
This thing might turn into something. I'm mistaken. Here comes something now.
Modernism and abstract art. Paul Gauguin is the starting point for the new art. The simplification of line and form, the use of bold colour, are the Fauvist hallmarks that lead to abstraction via Picasso, Braque and Cubism. All the modernist artists were collectors of African art. They saw the spiritual and visual possibilities that lay within. The Musée Ethnologique in Paris was an essential source for artists exploring new ways of creating art. The Bauhaus. The Bauhaus art school in Germany was a hub of modernist art and design. African and indigenous art were essential pursuits of many of the artists who taught there. Significant collectors of African art included Paul Klee and Walter Gross. Adolf Hitler declared both the Bauhaus and Negro jazz to be degenerate. Hitler banned them both outright. He fully understood the power of the black aesthetic. But jazz was so infectious that Hitler could not stop the German populace from covertly listening to Negro music. The Nazis were forced to create an approved form of jazz, especially for the German people. Many artists, architects, and intellectuals of the Bauhaus immigrated to New York. In that great city, the Bauhaus exiles designed buildings that rose to the rhythm and sounds of Harlem. Picasso's first Cubist painting, Les Demoiselles d'Avignon, was inspired by African masks. Cubism becomes the cornerstone of abstract art and Art Deco design. Constantine Brancusi. Constantine Brancusi used African masks and sculptures to inspire him to abstraction. He was an assistant to Rodin. He broke away from the master, saying, "Flowers cannot grow in the shade of a great tree." Brancusi exemplifies the move from Art Nouveau's organic fluidity, as epitomized by Rodin, to the elegant lines, geometry, and abstraction of Art Deco. Henri Matisse. Henri Matisse had a lifelong fascination with African textiles and art objects. The black aesthetic led him from Fauvism to pure abstraction. Josephine Baker was an inspiration to him. He created many abstract depictions of her. One significant painting is of her wearing the famous banana skirt. Matisse's Jazz series is one of his greatest works. Ferdinand Léger. From Cubism, Léger developed an Art Deco style of painting. He was a collector of African art. He persuaded his friend André Darvin, the theatre director, to produce La Revue Negre, a show with an all-black cast. La Revue Negre broke new ground. It introduced the greatest star of the Art Deco period, Josephine Baker. On the first night, most of the great artists, poets, intellectuals, and musicians of the age were in the audience. Edward Burrough. Burrough is my favorite example of an artist who immersed himself in the black aesthetic. He was from a wealthy English family and never needed to work for a living. He had a fascination with the underground of the world, which he visited to inspire his art. Paris in the 1920s was his first destination. For him, jazz was an obsession. All his life, he listened to blues and jazz records as he painted. The jazz clubs of Harlem in New York inspired his most significant works. Other English celebrities followed his footsteps into the black aesthetic, namely the composer Benjamin Britten, the poet W.H. Auden, and the novelist Christopher Isherwood. Pete Mondrian. Pete Mondrian looked like an old square in his suits and glasses, but he was a groover. He was so obsessed with dancing and jazz that he left Holland for Paris. He was outraged that the Dutch government banned the Charleston on the grounds of immorality. His artistic journey took him from Impressionism to pure abstraction, influencing Art Deco design along the way. The 1920s was an era of wild abandonment, spurred on to the sound of what people wrongly thought of as frenzied jazz music. Hipsters and groovy people, such as Mondrian, understood that jazz was actually very structured. The solid base of harmony and rhythm allowed the creativity to flow and the dancing to fly. The underlying structure of jazz music informed Pete Mondrian's purest abstract paintings. In New York, he was able to drink from the source. He produced his late great series, Broadway Boogie Woogie. Boogie Woogie is the basis of rhythm and blues and rock and roll. Yet,
It is the most structured of all jazz forms. It has a solid mathematical and geometrical structure. I shall demonstrate. Well, the blues is a very important aspect of boogie woogie. A boogie woogie is a piano form that arose in the mid-19th century in the Midwest of America, and it's based on the blues. Contrary to popular belief, blues is not a wild, raucous type of music, but is in fact a very structured form of music that has a mathematical and geometric basis. And let's just have a look at this. We can talk. The boogie woogie is characterized by having 8 beats to the bar in the left hand. Or. And that's a constant rhythm that's propelling the action in the left hand. So the blues is a form that is a repeating series of chords. And a very popular form is the 12-bar blues. You play through 12 bars and it comes in a circle. You start again from the same note key and keep going round in this circle. And then there are 3 scales within these 12 bars. And these scales these 3 scales working together are called the cycle of fourths and fifths, or the circle of fourths and fifths. So, for example, if we're in C, we will play, C will be the main scale, and then the next scale will be F, which is 4 notes down from C. There's your fourths. The next scale within these 3 is G, which is a 5th note from C. So thus we have the cycle of fourths and fifths. So I'm going to play through one 12-bar cycle, and I'm going to count the bars. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 6, 2, 3, 4, 7, 2, 3, 4, 8, 2, 3, 4, 9, 2, 3, 4, 10, 2, 3, 4, 11, 2, 3, 4, 12, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2. Boogie woogie develops in the Midwest of America as the trains push westward, particularly into the pine camps, the pine woods, and the pine forests of the West, where they're producing turpentine. The train lines go right into the pine camps. And Friday and Saturday nights, the owners of the camps would bring in pianos into what was called the barrel house. It's the house where they made the barrels for the turpentine. They would clear that out, clear those spaces on Friday and Saturday nights, and bring in an itinerant pianist. And the piano style became known as boogie woogie or barrel house piano. Now, the reason the owners of the pine camps did this, A, was to keep the workers happy, but it was also to get the money back off the workers, which that they paid them in wages, and often they were paid in truck, which is a kind of coinage that the pine forest owners produced themselves, and then that was spent to buy alcohol by the workers on Friday and Saturday nights. By Monday morning, they're often broke again, but they had a good time. So this music became barrel house piano or boogie woogie piano, and it's based on the feeling and the rhythm of the train. The train tracks came in exact lengths with a gap between them to allow for expansion. So when the trains went over these tracks, they made a sound like clickety-clack, clickety-clack, clickety-clack. And the American freight trains had 8 wheels to each carriage. So we get the rhythm and sound of the train. Just one thing I'd add about that is that actually the escape route that the slaves took to find safety in the north was called the Underground Railway. So the railway has a special significance for people of that time. So I will demonstrate. So we've got 8 beats to the bar in the left hand. The Black Aesthetic. The Black Aesthetic starts in Africa with the Pharaohs and the art of indigenous people from all over the world. In the Americas and the West Indies, it develops world-leading dance and music forms that create the avant-garde of the 20th century. The Black Aesthetic is distinct from classical European art tradition in that it is often spontaneous and derives from inside the artist and not from outside sources such as conductors, composers, or other authorities. Because the Black Aesthetic has often arisen from conditions of repression such as slavery and colonialism, it has great energy, freshness and verve. It symbolizes success in the teeth of adversity and creates joy amongst nations.
You and me, we sweat and strain, body all aching and racked with pain. Tote that pot, lift that pail, you get a little drunk and your land's in jail. I get weary and sick of trying. I'm tired of living and scared of dying. But old man River, he just keeps rolling on.
Masters of Modernism. Jazz arrived in France with the American Army in World War I. The Jazz Age really begins when the Charleston bursts onto the scene in 1922. It takes popular culture by storm all over the globe. Dresses have to be designed to accommodate the high-kicking moves of the dance. Jazzy patterns become the thing. Hairstyles become short and angular. The first master of modernism is therefore James Price Johnson, pianist and composer. It was he who wrote the Charleston. He was also the originator of the jazz piano style called stride, which he passed on to his musical acolytes, who became world famous in their own right. Amongst his pupils were George Gershwin, Duke Ellington, Count Basie, Fats Waller, and Leslie Hutchinson. Duke Ellington. Duke sat at the feet of his mentor, James P. Johnson. He becomes a great star of the Jazz Age in his own right. Duke composed the song which defined the next era of modernism. It Don't Mean a Thing If It Ain't Got That Swing is recognized as the first song to have the word swing in its title. Duke's music was so consciously visual. He used his band members as artists use color and tone. He is a quintessential Art Deco composer. Many of his songs have visual references. For example, Mood Indigo, Black and Tan Fantasy, Blue Bubbles, Black Butterfly, Sepia Panorama, In a Magenta Haze, Black, Brown and Beige, Coloratura, and many others. He was the subject of Art Deco posters, record covers, and figurines. Calloway. Cab Calloway took over Duke Ellington's position as the house band of Harlem's Cotton Club. His image appears in works of Art Deco graphics and figurines.
Jive on the mellow side. Hip, hip. Hip, hip. Jim, jam, jump is a solid jive. Makes you 9 foot tall when you're 4'5". Hip, hip. Hip, hip. Now don't you be that ickle get hip. Come on and then you follow through. You get your study full. You make up the joint and jump like the Gators do. Jim, jam, jump is a jumping jive. Makes you like your eggs on the Jersey side. Hip, hip. Hip, hip. The Jim, jam, jumping jive makes you a hap, hap on the Mahala side. Jibbly, boodly, boodly, biddly, bobbly, goodly, giddly, bang, 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 tang, da, da. Now I've told you about the jumping jive. Jim, jam, jump the jumping jive. You got to dig this mellow jive. Yes, yes, you dig it on the mellow side. A boodly, 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 boy. Boodly, boodly, boy. Biddly, biddly, gay. Boodly, giddly, bobbly, gaga.
In the 1930s, Cab writes The Hipster's Dictionary. Cab's dictionary introduces jazz terminology such as in the groove, groovy, hipster, cool, and many other jazz terms that are in common parlance to this day. On the inside cover of the book is The Hipster's Guide to the Jazz Clubs of Harlem. It is a piece of Art Deco design that is featured by the New York Art Deco Society. Louis Armstrong. Satchmo was called the master of modernism in his own lifetime. It is also the title of a biography by Thomas Brothers. It focuses on Armstrong's career in the 1920s. Satchmo's trumpet playing is revolutionary. It breaks new ground both in the potential of the instrument and in music itself. The opening solo of West End Blues is one of the pinnacles of the jazz age. Louis invented scat singing. On West End Blues, you can hear an early example of the sonic embodiment of Art Deco, otherwise known as scat singing. Leslie Hutchinson. Hutch was born in the West Indian island of Grenada. He was sent to New York as a teenager to study medicine. He gave up medicine to learn jazz piano with James P. Johnson, the creator of the Charleston. Hutch brought jazz to England. He was the inventor of crooning, which is an intimate style of jazz singing that was later associated with Bing Crosby and Frank Sinatra. Hutch features in Evelyn Waugh's quintessential. He is Chocky, the black companion of wealthy socialite Margot Beast Chetwynd. Modernism and female emancipation. Women's liberation is a key element to the Roaring Twenties and the Art Deco era. Women get the vote in Britain in 1918 and in America in 1920. James P. Johnson plays the Charleston. Skirts and hairstyles shorten. The jazz age begins. So let the party start. Female modernist icons: Josephine Baker, Nancy Cunard, Princess Sophia Duleep Singh, and Edwina Mountbatten were all sexually liberated, strong-minded women who transcended the boundaries of society to pursue causes and pleasures that changed history. Josephine Baker. Josephine Baker stands tall amongst the great heroines of her time. She was the child of a single mother who took in washing to make ends meet. Josephine went from dancing in the streets of St. Louis, Missouri for pennies to being one of the world's greatest stars. Like other important black people of her time, she transcended show business to become a fighter for civil rights. In Europe, she fought valiantly against the Nazis, and in America, she fought racism. Josephine held the rank of colonel in the Free French Army. She was awarded the Croix de Guerre and the Légion d'honneur. Diana Vreeland, the great style guru of the 20th century, defined Josephine Baker as the epitome of Art Deco style. Josephine's image was used everywhere, on posters, advertising, sculptures, and in paintings. Her long limbs and graceful angularity even influenced building design. Adolf Loos, the architect, designed his famous black and white modernist house in honor of their relationship. Le Corbusier, the celebrity architect of the age, was totally smitten by Josephine. He made many drawings of her during their close relationship. It is hard to overestimate the Josephine Baker effect on the development of Art Deco style. Nancy Cunard. Nancy Cunard is an important personage in the Harlem Renaissance as well as an icon of Art Deco fashion. She could easily be the poor little rich girl of Noel Coward's song.
Poor little rich girl, you're a bewitched girl, better take care. Laughing at danger, virtuous stranger, better beware. The life you lead sets all your nerves a-jangle. Your love affairs are in a hopeless tangle. Though you're a child, dear, your life's a wild typhoon. In lives of leisure, the craze for pleasure steadily grows. Cocktails and laughter, but what comes after nobody knows. You're weaving love into a mad jazz pattern, ruled by pantaloon. Poor little rich girl, don't drop a stitch too soon.
Born a wealthy heiress, she became an influential intellectual, publisher, writer, and political activist. She fought for racial equality and against fascism in the Spanish Civil War. Nancy was a sexually liberated free spirit. Amongst her celebrity lovers was Constantine Brancusi, who created an abstract sculpture of her. Nancy Cunard fell in love with the Black American jazz musician Henry Crowder. She became passionate about Black history, creating the Negro Anthology, her monumental book that featured the works of Black artists, writers, historians, and intellectuals. Nancy said, "Henry made me." Henry Crowder helped her create her publishing company and inspired her to immerse herself in the Black aesthetic. Edwina Mountbatten. Edwina Mountbatten was another candidate for the subject of Noel Coward's song, Poor Little Rich Girl. She was the wealthiest heiress in the world. Like Nancy Cunard, she was an Art Deco clothes horse and a sexually liberated woman of the jazz age. She first met Leslie Hutchinson in Paris, where aristocrats and crowned heads mixed with bohemians in jazz clubs. Edwina persuaded Hutch to leave Paris for England, where he became the top entertainer for 4 decades. Hutch was bisexual, which earned him a special place in the affections of the British upper classes of both genders. Edwina's relationships with Black celebrities were the society scandal of the age. She is King Charles's aunt by her marriage to Earl Louis Mountbatten. Like our previous heroines, Edwina rose above scandal to play her part in World War II and in global politics. She threw herself into helping the injured casualties of the war. Alongside her husband, the Viceroy of India, she instigated India's departure from British colonial rule. Edwina died at the age of only 58, surrounded by the love letters of her close admirer, Jawaharlal Nehru, Prime Minister of India. Princess Sophia Duleep Singh. Princess Sophia Duleep Singh was a figurehead of the women's suffragette movement. Women got the vote in England in 1918 and in America in 1920. The suffragette movement was an essential part of the Roaring Twenties. When women were able to vote, they cut their hair, Skirts were shortened, sex was liberated, and they danced the Charleston. Princess Sophia Dulip Singh was an ardent activist. After the death of Emmeline Pankhurst in 1927, Sophia became the leader of the suffragette movement. It was she, a black woman, who led the movement when full female suffrage was achieved. Sophia was born into privilege at the highest level of British society. She was the daughter of Maharaja Dulip Singh, the boy king who gave the Koh-i-Noor diamond and his empire to Queen Victoria. Her mother, Bamba Mullah, was African and the daughter of an Ethiopian slave. Sophia pursued her activism in India, where she worked towards the nation's freedom from British colonial rule. It is typical of the Art Deco era that a black woman was the leader of the suffragette movement. Summary. Back in the 1960s, we were not taught that the black aesthetic or black culture was part of art history. The term primitive was used to describe black culture. The avant-garde or modernism were terms exclusively used for white art and culture. I am a Jamaican of the Windrush generation. We arrived in Britain in the immediate years following World War II. We brought with us the essential ingredients that modernized British cultural life and put it right on the cutting edge of popular music and dance. We brought calypso, ska, reggae, modern jazz, rap, sound systems, rhythm and blues. Along with all that came the cool, the groove and the hip, ways of talking and walking.
The Empire Windrush brings to Britain 500 Jamaicans. Many are ex-servicemen who know England. They serve this country well. In Jamaica, they couldn't find work. Discouraged but full of hope, they sailed for Britain. The Colonial Office gives them a more cordial reception than was at first envisaged.
Now, may I ask you your name?
Lord Kitchener.
Lord Kitchener. Now, I'm told that you are really the king of calypso singers. Is that right?
Yes, that's
Well,
so
now, will you
true.
sing for us?
Right now.
Yes.
London is the place for me. London, this lovely city. You can go to France or America, India, Asia, or Australia, but you must come back to London City. Well, believe me, I am speaking broad-mindedly. I am glad to know my mother country. I've been traveling the countries years ago, but this is the place I wanted to know, darling, London. This is the place for me.
The black aesthetic rises out of and above the repression of slavery and colonialism. With energy and verve, it embodies success in the teeth of adversity. Black culture brings joy unto nations.
Oh, thank you, Danny. That was absolutely wonderful. I think that could have been about 12 different lectures. It was absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask the audience if you've got any questions for Danny. We've got a few minutes left. If you'd put them in the Q&A box, I can ask them. But I would like to start with one of my own. You're an artist and a musician, as we saw there. Can I just ask, what do you like, what do you love about Art Deco, and does Art Deco influence your own art?
Well, I did a portrait years ago of Duke Ellington, and I did consciously have Art Deco elements in the composition. But Generally speaking, no. I don't think I use Art Deco design unless it's specifically for a particular portrait.
Hmm.
But jazz I use all the time. I mean, jazz is one of the elements, most important elements of 20th century painting. You know, Jackson Pollock, for example, all these people painted to jazz. It's American abstract expressionism is sort of highly influenced by jazz. So, uh, well, I think what I tried to explain at the beginning of that video was the way that Art Deco buildings shone out of the long London fog. You know, they they seem to have the soot. I suppose they weren't long enough to get that blackened look of the Victorian house buildings, and they were sort of very white, light coloured stone, and they had lights and neon lights as well as light coloured stone. And I mean, that just they were just so noticeable. Well, it's meant to be. And they left a big impression on my mind in London in the 50s. Because in Jamaica, as far as I know, we didn't have any Art Deco buildings. And I can't recollect ever seeing an Art Deco building in Jamaica.
I know it is very striking when you do start noticing that. It's amazing how you keep seeing the buildings, and once you started noticing.
Yes.
So I was actually really interested. I think yours is probably the first lecture. I know Art Deco is said to, you know, influence every art form, and I think your talk's the first one that's really illustrated that properly. I found the dancing sequences that you put in were particularly interesting. Is the dance and the music quite a key element of Art Deco for you?
Yes, I mean, it really all boils down to the Charleston for me, because I was as a kid in England. Everybody, girls would do the Charleston in the street still in the 1950s, and to this day people still know that tune, the Charleston. When I discovered that it was actually composed by a black man, James B. Johnson, in the 1920s, it made me start re-evaluating what the Charleston stood for. And I think it was the first of the, I mean, other than ragtime, but ragtime wasn't necessarily a dance, but Charleston was like the first popular form, you know, which actually led to rock and roll, swing, jive, and all the rest of it. And we're still under the spell of the Charleston today in many ways.
Absolutely. No, we absolutely are. It keeps coming back. It gets kind of resurrected every now and again and reinterpreted. And I did actually see that a lot of the dance steps were kind of echoing Art Deco forms. So there were lots of kind of angular legs, lots of kind of almost zigzag patterns in the dancers. It's really interesting. I don't think it doesn't look like we've got any other questions. Does anybody have anything else that they would like to ask? We've just got a moment or two left. I'll just give people some time. We've got some nice comments coming in though. We've got Emma saying fascinating talk. Thank you very much. And yeah, no other questions. So Danny, I would just like to say thank you so much. That was really fascinating. I think I'm going to have to watch the video again just to get more out of that, because there was so much that you covered. And just before we go, I'm going to remind everybody that we do have another talk on the 12th of November, preserving our seaside Art Deco heritage. That's a panel discussion with Catherine Ferry and Alan Brodie, plus two members of our preservation committee, historian Karen Averby and architect Nigel Wilson, and they'll be discussing all aspects of how to preserve and enjoy Art Deco architect for the future. Oh, looks like we have had one more comment come in. Maddie, thank you. Fascinating and such a great combination of visuals, music and dance. Thank you so much. Yes, I would echo that. I thoroughly enjoyed all of the the clips, and you playing the piano was a particular highlight. I didn't think we were getting that, so that was wonderful. So Danny, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure, an enjoyable pleasure.
Lovely, thank you. Thanks everyone. Night.
Good night.